What a big wall of amplifiers, guys. As you can see today, I just want to bring the house down.
That's how when you bring the house down.
Just kidding, guys. I hope. Anyway, today I'm gonna show you a very cool tool, both for live situation if you are really a rich man, or for a studio situation. In my opinion, is more important for studio situation, this kind of tool. And the tool is the amp switcher by NRG Amplification, as you can see here. This really tiny tool that basically is very useful to switch between different amplifiers and cabinets all connected together, so you can switch in real time different combinations. That's very cool. So intro, and then we talk more about this really cool tool. So hi guys, I'm Steex, 𝙎𝙤𝙬𝙪 Production. Welcome to my YouTube channel. Welcome to my studio, the place where I try out both audio gear for guitar but also for pro audio. Today, as you can see, we have a very giant wall of gear, really lovely gear. Today I'm gonna show you and test with you the new NRG amp switcher, a really cool tool for your studio. If you have lots of amplifiers, you can connect all the amplifiers to this product. Of course, you can use different of these if you want to link and create a chain if you have a lot of amplifiers, of course, and also cabinet. This video is not sponsored by NRG. However, this tool will stay here in my studio. So basically, it's an exchange of products for this review. Anyway, all my opinion will be honest as always, but spoiler, is an amazing product, and I wanted this in my studio because an amazing product. And anyway, the price is very low for a switcher, very well made like this, with all the feature and all the MIDI capabilities. Very low, guys. Link in the description anyway. So this tool is very simple, really intuitive to use. It's MIDI switchable, and this is the key for this video today. All these amplifiers and cabinets are connected to the NRG amp switcher via all the cables. You can of course switch the NRG amp switcher by hand, so like this, for example. So you can choose the amplifier number 1 and you can use the cabinet number 2, so this combination, or for example you use the amplifier number 3 and the cabinet number 1. So very easy if you have this switcher on your, for example, desktop when you are using for a studio situation, for example. But if you have all these amplifier in another room, for example, a recording room, you can have the switch connect everything with MIDI. So if your amplifiers have the MIDI capability, MIDI feature, you can connect everything via MIDI, and you can basically control with a MIDI device, which I'm using right now here. I don't know if you can see, this is the new Matrix that I'll show you in a dedicated video. But anyway, you can use a tool to switch everything and create combination via MIDI. And this is also really useful for a live situation. If you want to use not a modeler, for example, but if you want to use a real amplifier connected together and create your sound in old style, but really cool sound with real tubes, guys, well, this is the way. So there is not too much to say about this amp switcher. Basically, switch amps and cabinets. As you can see, this is the 4x2 version. So basically, you can connect up to 4 amplifiers and 2 different cabinets. If you want, you can also connect less. For example, I have only 3 amplifiers today. Only, and 2 cabinets. You have the power switch here, you have the connection in front of for your amplifier, but you can connect also the guitar. As you can see, this is the main cable of my guitar, also on the rear panel. On the rear panel, you have all the connection, both for instrument type of cable and speaker type of cable. So you have to pay attention because it's also labeled basically with the red color, the speaker cable that you have to use, of course, when you connect basically between amplifier and cabinets. So you need to have speaker cables. So for this type of routing, you need a lot of speaker cable, let's say, because you have to jump one between the other. And also I'm using an attenuation here in my torpedo, so basically also another speaker cable because you have to make a bridge basically. Anyway, today I'm gonna show you this tool in two ways. One for a live situation, and secondly for a studio situation like this. So let's start with the live situation. Real time, you need to have some combination, okay? And that's why I have here everything. Today, I'm not telling you how to proper connect everything. Anyway, you have to know how MIDI works. So you have to know the MIDI channel of your amplifier and switch, of course, MIDI channel and so on and so forth. So you need to prepare your amplifiers to be able to receive all the MIDI signal, of course. So about the sound, all my rig is here. My guitar goes directly into the guitar input here. To the switcher, everything is connected in this way. The Blackstar is my first amplifier, so when you see the one lighting up is basically connected to my Blackstar. Marshall is the number 2. The Framus Cobra is the number 3. About the cabinet, my first cabinet is the David LaBoggia Pro version, which is this one, while this one is the David LaBoggia Tight and is in the number 2. The differences between these two cabinets, you will listen totally different sounds, because here, this is the David LaBoggia Pro, so 2x12, but different speakers. And right now, I'm using the JZ microphone to the K100 speakers, which will sound totally different than a V30, which is the bottom speaker. While here I have a S Electronics R1, which is basically a ribbon microphone, and it's miking basically the Mamzer 30 speaker, like the vintage 30, but with lot more bottom you will listen. So I made some presets. So let's start with the Blackstar in clean sound and with David LaBoggia Pro. So this is the combination, 1 to 1, and this is the sound. I can still change by hand, for example, listening with the second cabinet. Now let's switch to the Marshall. Here I've decided to use also the reverb on, as you can listen. So now I want to switch, for example, to the Blackstar with the Tight series. I really love this amplifier. Switching to the Cobra with the Crunch channel and this cabinet, K100 speaker. So if you have lots of money, you can create your wall of sound with real amplifier all connected. So this is your pedal board, your modeler. That's very, very cool. I really like to use real amplifier when I can. This is basically the live situation. So if you have different amplifiers and maybe you love a clean channel of a dedicated amplifier, but you don't like the crunch channel or distorted channel of that amplifier, you can combine different amplifiers. And thanks to the MIDI feature, you can switch everything remotely, like I'm doing right now. Or if you have a backliner, you can do it by typing, of course, all the switcher by hand. Let's play a bit more. So let's go, for example, with my Marshall Overdrive with the David LaBogar Pro. Here you can really listen the differences between one amplifier to the other. Normally, I used to say that the 80% or the 85% of the sound, I'm talking about sound, so frequency spectrum, comes from the cabinet and the microphone. So placement of microphone, speaker and cabinet. The amplifier normally change the dynamic of the sound, but the Framus Cobra is a totally different amplifier. It's a really extreme amplifier. It's really difficult to use. In this way, the amplifier will change completely the sound. So let's switch now to the studio situation. So I prepared another page, and here I can switch between different amplifier with the same cabinet. So I can make some decision. For example, when you have recorded the DI of an artist, a guitarist, and postly you have to decide which amplifier is better to use. Well, this is the situation, the studio situation. Basically, here I've prepared different switch. Remotely, you can also, of course, always do on the switcher. But let's say, let's use always the same cabinet. So the David LaBogar Pro cabinet, which is this one, with the same speaker. And let's choose different amplifiers with the same kind of situation. So the overdrive sound. So let's start with the Blackstar. You can listen here that the Blackstar and Marshall are really similar. Instead, the Cobra is way more scooped and you have more something on the upper frequencies, and that's the character of the Cobra. Even if basically I have all the equalization of the mids all the way open, but this is the sound of the Framus Cobra. And I'm using the crunch channel of the Framus right now. We can do the same now with the tight cabinet. So let's switch the cabinet right now. Let me switch guitar. I want to use lower tune. I don't know if it's in tune. I don't know. Alright guys, I really love this tool. I always wanted to have one in my studio. This is really useful if you have lots of amplifiers, both in your studio, if you don't want to go back and forth between your recording room where there are all the amplifiers, switch amplifiers by hand. You can have everything already connected, switcher, MIDI control, and you can stay on your desk. That's very, very cool. Or if you have lots of money and want to bring with you all this lovely wall of sound with you for your live situation, you need to have a backliner, of course, because otherwise this will ruin your back, of course. Yes, totally. So guys, I really love this switcher. You have the link in the description. Thanks again to NRG for supplying me this really lovely product. You have the link in the description, and of course, I'll see you in the next video. Bye.